Welcome to Lifestyle Profiles. I'm Wendy McGowan Ellis, and this week our guests are Kirsten and Adam Lile. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
They are with the Cheney Group, and so I wanted to have a conversation today about real estate and design while quarantined at home. So first of all, I want to know y'all's backgrounds. How did you get to Frisco, and how did you become involved with the Cheney Group?
So we moved here. This is actually our second stint in Frisco. We both come from the Northwest. Originally moved here in 2008 when I took a job with a real estate investment company down in Addison. And then shortly after that, the real estate crash happened. Ended up moving back to the Northwest. But we always felt like this was kind of a home for us and felt like we were going to end up back here. We have family here and built some really great friendships. And so in 2014, I was coming down here on a business trip. I said, hey, babe, why don't you come down and let's take a look at this as possibly moving back. And by the end of the trip, we had a house under contract.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what year was that?
That was 2014.
Okay, great. So you've been here a while now. So what does the real estate market look like right now? I mean, things are crazy everywhere. So what is this looking like for you guys?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting time because everything happens so fast. And so we won't really know the full impact of the last, 5 or so weeks on the real estate market until probably sometime mid-May when we can get all the data for April. But kind of going back and looking at how things looked at the end of March, we started to see some slowing trends, just anecdotal evidence. We're a fairly high volume team, and we saw a lot of our sellers taking a pause, not sure if they wanted to put their house on the market right now because they wanted to take a wait and see approach. A lot of buyers decided to also take kind of that wait and see approach. So when you have sellers not putting their house on the market and buyers taking a pause, you're going to see a lot of volume down. So we definitely anticipate that we're going to see a significant drop in volume when we get the data for April. But if you look at actual closed sales at the end of March, we actually saw an increase in closed sales towards the end. A lot of those were already in the pipeline, but we saw about 23% increase year over year for closed sales this in terms of the end of March 2019 to 2020. But we saw active listings at the end of March down about 40%. So that tends to make us think that we definitely were going to see a slowdown through April.
What has the Cheney Group and you guys in particular, what have y'all done in order to comply with government regulations? I mean, how has that shifted the way you show, the way you market? Tell us about that.
That actually got really interesting too, because, when the stay-at-home orders came in, we saw a big shift in how people were going to engage with the real estate buying and selling process. One, a lot of people just flat out wanted to stay home. And so we had to make a real shift to the people who we had properties on the market that were vacant. And so it's not like we had a restriction going in. But we wanted to make sure that we were taking proper precautions for not just our sellers, but also our buyers who were wanting to come in and see homes. And so we started carrying a lot of hand sanitizer, gloves, masks. One thing that I would always do when I would meet my clients to go show them a house is I would hand them a hand wipe, an individual packaged hand wipe. And I said, this is not just to clean your hands, but if you're going to open doors, if you're going to turn on lights, if you're going to do any of that stuff, can you please use the disinfecting wipe rather than, touching it with their hands. And so that was one thing that we would do to take proper precautions. On the front end of it, we were still doing open houses until that got to the point where either it was completely slow and there was no point to do the open houses, or we started to do more virtual open houses. We'd go in and open all the doors, turn on all the lights, and just ask people, as you're going through, please don't touch anything. And then at the end of it, we'd go through, wipe everything down, just to, show proper precautions.
How have clients reacted to that?
Most, it's, they kind of take on your own demeanor, and so I make light of it a little bit. The I will say that one thing that I think may actually stick around after all of this is the idea of the virtual tours or the virtual showings or the virtual open houses. Video, obviously, we're here on a video interview. Video is becoming a big component of how we consume information, and I really think that real estate is going to take that too. We've had some 3D tour technology that's come about before this, but I think that's going to become even more important. And then a lot of times when I have clients who want to engage with property, we'll go through with FaceTime and do a FaceTime tour live with them, or we'll do pre-recorded walkthroughs of homes. And we've actually put homes under contract and got homes closed just by doing that.
What is the outlook for the real estate market? I mean, you touched on this a little bit briefly earlier, Adam, but what are y'all seeing through the end of the year?
Yeah, I think in the near term, again, until we see some of that data come out at the, sometime in May to see how April is going to shake out, just by knowing what our typical volume is and what we've seen, at least, through the last few weeks, I think there's two things at play that are going to really determine how we end this year when it comes to real estate. One is, obviously, there's been a huge economic impact with the stay-at-home orders and the shutdown. When you shut down an economy and you have a massive amount of unemployment, that's going to weigh heavily on who's has the ability to buy homes. So I think that's one thing that we're going to have to see is what that full economic impact is going to be. But in terms of, we're sitting here in what was deemed one of the top recession-proof cities in America, and I don't think that's necessarily going to change after all of this. I think we have a very stable economy here. And just knowing what was leading up to the stay-at-home orders, we saw, at least in our pipeline and the pipeline of the networks that we're involved in, it was pretty full, and that hasn't gone away. It's just delayed. So I think what we're going to see is what typically is a real estate, the strongest time period of the year for real estate is usually, towards the end of March, maybe end of spring break through the beginning of school. Now we've just compressed that. So I think there's going to be a significant volume done here in probably late May through the end of the year, because that's when the time people are buying houses, selling houses, making changes to where they live. So I think we're seeing almost a pent-up demand starting to build. And even, we just got done having a team meeting to talk about what we have coming down the pipeline, and it's continuing to build with nowhere for it to go just yet. So as we start to loosen up the lockdown, things start to open up, I think there's going to be floodgates opening, and it's going to be a really busy real estate season.
That's excellent. That's wonderful. I can't wait to hear that. So let's take the conversation more in-home with you, Kirsten, because you are the design specialist at the Cheney Group. So tell us, what are the design trends for 2020?
The big thing right now in 2020 is, again, to continue the idea of lightening and brightening your space. So in the past, probably 5 years, it's been all the cool tones, the grays, the blues, those things. And we're seeing a trend of that kind of going to the warmer side of the light and fresh ideas. So instead of gray, people are doing whites and creams in their homes. We're doing a lot of kind of grayish colors, which is like a beigey gray color in between. So I think that we're seeing that really change in terms of what people are doing in their homes right now, which is nice because a lot of homes in North Texas still have that really dark browns and golds tones, and their floors are dark. And so these warmer whites and neutrals are great to go with what a lot of people already have in their homes.
What are buyers looking for? Like, what are the amenities or the color tones as you're talking about? What are the hot things that buyers are looking for?
The biggest thing that I see buyers looking for is something move-in ready. So they don't want to have to update their home. They want the HGTV looking house. So they don't want to see old countertops. So I always recommend either if you have countertops that are warm toned, that are granite, then we could paint your cabinets and do them a lighter white. But people don't want to see wood cabinets unless they're updated and nice looking wood. But not the dark oaky colors. So countertops are a big deal. Lighting is a really big deal for clients as they want to see it just fresh, modern, less traditional, less heavy. A lot of those heavy, like the iron pieces and things like that are out. So let's see, the other things that people like are wood floors, of course, and updated bathrooms is a big one as well. Not so much in the secondary bathrooms, but if a master is updated, that's a really nice feature that clients are looking for right now.
What are you suggesting to your design clients that they can do while quarantined right now? What are the hot things that are easy that I can work on?
One big thing is painting. I mean, painting is the easiest, cheapest way to do an update quickly. I have a friend right now, she's painting her whole house herself. So she's just going room by room, slowly but surely getting through it. We've been painting some of our rooms and touching them up and just freshening our house up so that, with time on our hands, that we can do things that if we were to sell our house, we'd be ready. Lighting is an easy thing too to switch out. If you just say a chandelier in your dining room, you can order something online still and get that delivered, and you can change that out yourself. And then I'd say the third thing that I would recommend is really focusing on your landscape. I think a lot of people don't look at their outdoor areas much when they're selling their home, and I think that is a huge benefit if you are getting ready to sell your house, to have it just really nice looking and ready to go.
It's also not that expensive. I mean, it really isn't, to put in some nice perennials or annuals, borders, and just low flowers really pops and gives it that curb appeal.
Yeah, one thing I tell clients a lot is get a beautiful pot. You can find them at Costco or Target or Home Depot. And then you can get a hanging basket, cut off the wires of the hanging part, and put it right in that pot. And it quick, easy. Yeah, exactly. So I'm doing that for clients that are selling their home so that they can take it with it, or it's just a nice gift to give to the new owners of the house. So
that's wonderful. Well, any final thoughts from the both of you before we wrap up?
I would just say for people to not be scared of what's happening in the market. I think we're seeing just a lot of activity, and people are still moving here. People are still buying houses. People are still selling houses. And so it is a great time to get your house ready. And I think in the next couple of weeks, the market is going to open back up even more. And there's great opportunities out there for buying and selling your house.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys both so much for being with us today. The Cheney Group, the top real estate agency here in Frisco, Texas. Adam, Kirsten, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Andy.
For having us.